And away we go. Alright then, let's see what is floating about at this time of the week. There's a handful, I'll tell you that. Senegal president greets team as triumphant players receive heroes welcome in Dakar. On Monday, January 19th, the Senegal national team, the Teranga Lions, arrived in Dakar just after midnight after beating host Morocco in the Africa Cup of Nations final in Rabat. Senegal players briefly walked off the pitch in protest of a penalty decision in second half stoppage time, while the Rabat stadium saw chaotic moments, including fans involved in pitch disturbances. Outside Dakar's airport, fans in national colours greeted the team, waving flags, blaring horns, and chanting, while President Bassirou Diomaye Faye praised their exemplary conduct. The African champion will parade through the streets of Dakar on Tuesday morning and will have a presidential palace reception later in the day. Fans alternated between protest over perceived unfairness and widespread pride in the victory, with FIFA President Gianni Infantino calling the walk-off unacceptable on Monday, a stance echoed by the Confederation of African Football. Now, where do I begin? Do I start with the amount of security that the Senegal national team got on the way to the Rabat Stadium? Should I mention how a couple of Moroccan ball boys were trying to snatch Edouard Mendy's towel, and then Senegal's third choice goalkeeper had to step in to defend Mendy's towel from being nicked by the Moroccan ball boys? Or should I start with the decisions that the referees, not just in the final of AFCON, but throughout the entire tournament, they made rather questionable decisions at best that would otherwise favour a particular nation or particular groups of nations to advance to the final in hopes that whoever won would be celebrated by particular individuals on the top of the pyramid. I could go on with any of this stuff, but of course, the internet is available, people can look this stuff up, and even upon people looking at such evidence about referees' decisions and the moment that Mendy's towel was close to being snatched by Moroccan ball boys, that actually happened. There's so many footage about that all over the internet. And of course, there's so much about the treatment of the Senegal national team, whether it be before they arrived, the moment they arrived in Morocco in preparation for that final, and maybe even after, if it's heated. But I know for sure, I've heard so much about how the training grounds for Morocco and Senegal, in time for the AFCON final, they were really close to each other, and in fear that during training that the other team could get an advantage over them and take home the silverware or goldware for that matter, and so on and so forth. And honestly, I'm not sure where to begin, but even if I don't get into detail, I think I've said enough about AFCON. It was a very great AFCON final, that's for sure. Not just the fact that Senegal deserved the win for that year's AFCON, but also many moments. I can't name at the top of my head, but I know that it's a big deal for AFCON for many Africans across the world, whether it be in Africa or somewhere around Europe, the North American countries, Australia, New Zealand to some extent. It was quite the moment that it happened. So, I will say this. Congratulations, Senegal. You deserve the win. You deserve to win that AFCON. And the treatment and all the behind the scenes stuff, outrageous. I can't be the only one that has to say this. Surely other football fans would have also seen with their own eyes about whatever happened in that AFCON final between Morocco and Senegal. And I didn't even mention about after the referees decided on the particular outcomes of particular moments on the pitch that has resulted in giving Morocco two penalties, which many football fans would argue that was not needed whatsoever. The referees were like, okay, let's give Morocco the penalty. Not once, but twice. And in both of those times, they missed. But that's not what's the big deal. That's not what people should be concerned about, or what people would be raving on about. The second time Morocco was given a penalty, Brahim Diaz, and I know, yeah, Diaz, who took that second penalty for Morocco within or close to stoppage time in the second half, he penenkaed. He did a penenka for that penalty. And Mendy was like, he just caught the ball without having to do anything. He stood where he was, or presumably where he wanted Diaz to go. Mendy just saved the ball. Diaz penenkaed that ball, thinking, oh, that's easy. We'll win it in a piece of cake. How the turns of tables were that moment, and yeah, this isn't just a mistake that could have easily been avoided. This was a mistake that many generations of football fans, especially Morocco fans, would heavily go against Diaz for many, many years. I hope he's alright. I mean, yeah, it was a stupid decision to do a Panenka, especially at the moment of a continental competition final. However, the question must be asked, how much is too much? And does it go too far? Well, whoever's at fault and should be tried for many concerns, we have learned a very valuable lesson. No matter how much help you get from the big guys to win a competition that even if you do well, there are other teams that have put in a much stronger performance, that had a much stronger form, that tells fans that this team definitely deserves to win. The latter is most likely going to happen, regardless of how much support other teams get, in hopes that those teams would win the competition, even if they're just mid, or even terrible. But most of the time they're mid. If teams were very terrible, they would have been eliminated by now. So yeah, congratulations Senegal, you deserve the win. Yeah, we learn a lot from these moments. Many people do. Russell Brand appears in UK court by video link on further rape, sex assault charges. At Westminster Magistrates Court on Tuesday, Russell Brand appeared via video link from the US accused of two 2009 offences involving women in London. Channel 4's dispatches and the Sunday Times triggered police probes in 2023, and the Crown Prosecution Service approved further charges in December involving two women. In earlier proceedings, Brand pleaded not guilty to 5 earlier charges, 1999 to 2005, involving 4 women, with a provisional trial set for June 3, 2026, at Southwark Crown Court. He was granted bail after the video appearance, and Brand is due at Southwark Crown Court on February 17th for a plea hearing. Broadcasters and production companies have conducted internal reviews, and the Metropolitan Police say the investigation remains ongoing, with support available via Rape Crisis 24/7 line, while Russell Brand denies the allegations. For some reason, I have a feeling there'll be a handful of people that will defend Russell Brand, not just because of the allegations in question, it would likely be the people that would defend Russell Brand would be the same groups of people that would, at some point, a year or two ago, would take a liking to him, given what he has called out, the things he has called out, whether it be about COVID. Actually, I don't pay attention to Russell Brand all that much. I know that he has called out the handling of the coronavirus lockdowns and the vaccine that goes with it. That's the most notable moment of Russell Brand that I could remember. And also the time that he was dating Katy Perry. But that's it. That is all I know about him. Yeah, quite recently in the last year or two, Russell Brand has been very vocal about how this world is going on. There are particular groups of people trying to tear him down because he has been so very vocal about particular groups of people who have done very naughty things that they shouldn't have been doing to begin with. That is not to say that Russell. That is not. I think this is very important to ask. Even if these allegations against Russell Brand are true, why now? Why now is it that someone, not just Russell Brand, anyone, is to be accused for serious allegations? If these allegations and questions had taken place many years prior, why not all of those years ago, the moment it happened, to call out on these people? Why are we bringing this up now? That's all. That I will say. I'm not going to defend Russell Brand on these allegations, even if they're not true. It's important to ask, why bring these allegations up now? If this could have been brought up many years ago, the moment these allegations were taking place, and what are the evidence that backs these allegations up? We'll just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see what the court hearing will be like and what the result from those court cases would be. Elon Musk runs poll on buying Ryanair after spat with CEO over in-flight Wi-Fi. On Monday, Elon Musk pinned a poll on Twitter X asking followers whether he should buy Ryanair Holdings plc, which drew 30 million views and over 300,000 votes, with 79% in favour. Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary rejected Starlink for Ryanair's fleet of over 600 aircraft, estimating $200 to $250 million annual costs from added drag and fuel penalties. The online exchange moved from teasing posts to direct replies, and a pinned poll as Ryanair's official Twitter X account mocked Musk after a site outage, prompting Musk to ask how much to buy the airline and call to fire CEO O'Leary. Shares moved only modestly after the spat, with Ryanair shares briefly surging, while European Union ownership rules and public listing mean Musk would face legal and shareholder hurdles. The row has become a viral spectacle and a test for in-flight connectivity debates, with Starlink adopted by more than 24 carriers, but seen as better for long-haul airlines. I have so much to say on this, but I know one thing's really on my mind. I have to say it. If Elon Musk was to buy Ryanair, it's not, forget the EU rules about company ownership, which I've already said enough about. I'm not going to get into here, but whilst the EU has rules and rules of ownership and public listing, that's something I would not argue too much about. Even if Elon Musk does find a way to become the new owner, or CEO, whichever fits in his view, of Ryanair Airlines, what does he plan to do with Ryanair? There's so many ideas that Elon Musk would have. If he's ever going to become owner of anything, which he has done with Twitter, which is now X, I think this might most likely go in a similar direction like what happened back when Twitter was around and Elon Musk bought Twitter and then renamed to X. But it's not just the name that was changed with Twitter X. It's also the fact that people had now most likely would start being charged for services and features within Twitter X. Back when it was Twitter, Jack Dorsey, who ran Twitter at the time, he significantly cut his pay as the CEO and distributed it to his workers and other expenses to keep Twitter running at the time. Ever since Elon Musk bought Twitter and then renamed it to X, since now he's the new owner of Twitter at that time, whatever the massive pay cut Jack Dorsey put on himself just vanished. And then the typical classic corporate hierarchy for every business was brought back under Elon Musk's ownership, and seeing how much costs and expenses that Twitter had back when Jack Dorsey was in charge, Elon Musk, in his view, did whatever changes he believed had to be done to keep Twitter, or X, whatever you like to call it, well above the margin of any business to make any kind of profit. There were so many expenses with Twitter, but even there were heavy amounts of expenses, Jack Dorsey cut a lot of his pay as CEO and redistributed towards covering expenses and wages for employees, which, you know what, I'll give him credit for that. I respect that. But of course, Elon Musk isn't like that. He's the kind of guy that values being paid for what you're worth, paid on merit. And because of that mindset, and ever since he took over Twitter, he made the changes he believed had to be changed. He has let go many Twitter staff, and now they've gone working for other companies like Facebook or Instagram via Meta or other companies working in technology. And for the employees that remained at Twitter X, well, they put up with whatever they can with Elon Musk. And now, Twitter X is now essentially became a platform which it wasn't many, many years ago. Essentially, X now is pretty much the opposite of what Twitter was, or is before the takeover. So anyway, back to Elon Musk buying Ryanair. Michael O'Leary kind of has that mindset. Not that he cares about the employees or distributes his pay to other people. Michael O'Leary is the kind of guy that tries to cut costs. Now, I'm not saying that Jack Dorsey and Michael O'Leary are the same person. I think the point I'm making is that different people that run businesses have different ways of trying to keep their businesses afloat, whether it be cutting their own pay and distributing it to other workers, or trying to cut down on expenses at the helm. Like, instead of providing first-class seats, make all-seat economy. In-flight entertainment? Nope. Nothing. No in-flight entertainment. That's too expensive. And why I mention this, if Elon Musk was to buy Ryanair, he's going to revamp, he's going to make changes to Ryanair, like Elon Musk did with Twitter X. The only difference is the previous owner or CEO at the time, if Elon Musk does buy Ryanair, had different mindsets about how they run their businesses. The only similarity is, if Elon Musk becomes the new owner of that business that was once owned by someone previously, he's going to make changes to that business that goes ahead with operating businesses about if there's expenses, there has to be paid out in full. And even if there are costs to certain aspects that has to be covered, cutting down those expenses to the point of low quality service, that's not the way to go. And most likely Elon Musk kind of thinks the same way. So that's what I would say. But again, the EU has ownership rules and public listing regulations that would otherwise prevent Elon Musk from doing this. So we'll just have to wait and see if Elon Musk is committed into buying Ryanair, like like the people that voted in the poll want him to do, and the other hurdles about just owning European businesses given EU rules and guidelines. So, yeah, in the words of Risk 11, only time will tell. Indeed they will. Iran police chief issues surrender ultimatum over riots. On Monday, National Police Chief Ahmed Reza Redan said people he called deceived would get lighter punishment if they surrender within 3 days, noting young people who became unwittingly involved in the riots are considered to be deceived individuals, not enemy soldiers, on state television. Demonstrations that began in late December over economic hardship became the biggest challenge to Iran's rulers, with officials blaming the United States and Israel for turning protesters into riots. Verified counts from rights groups show the Iran Human Rights NGO verified 3,428 protester deaths. Tasnim cited officials reported around 3,000 arrests, and rights groups estimate 20,000 detained last week. Firstly, rest in peace to the 3,428 protesters who have lost their lives since the protest in Iran has begun. I send my condolences to the friends and family of those protesters. I'm not going to give the current Iranian government any credit whatsoever. However, I will say I think it's a smart move on their end to say that young people are deceived. To say that the young people that are protesting, they don't know any better. They don't know what's going on. If they turn themselves in now, we're not going to give them hard punishment. Again, not that the current Iranian government should get any credit whatsoever. That is at least the least they can do to ensure that the government of Iran doesn't tarnish their reputation further than it currently is at right now. One thing to note, though, the young people of Iran, they're not going to back down. They're going to say, we're not deceived, we know exactly what's going on. We're not liking what our government is doing to us. That's why we're protesting. You want to arrest us? Do it. We're standing for what is right, and I'm with that. There's going to be changes around. Changes in Iran will be made at some point. It just won't be now. In the next year or two, once the US makes up its mind about how to deal with what's going on in Iran, that's when changes will be made. Not saying things will get better after that, but of course, things can't get any worse than that from this moment going forward. People will take whatever they can if it means that there is a net positive difference in how people in Iran continue living their lives. So again, I will say, what's going on in Iran, I hope people who are protesting or just trying to go on about their lives, they are safe, they are unharmed, and nothing horrible is going to happen to them. Nothing like that should ever happen to anyone. Ever. Brooklyn Beckham bashes David and Victoria Beckham in stunning post. On Monday night, Brooklyn Peltz Beckham posted a 6-page statement on Instagram accusing his parents of controlling family narratives and saying he has no wish to reconcile while standing up for himself. Brooklyn argued that the family's team repeatedly fed stories to the media, aligning David Beckham and Victoria Beckham recently placed lies that harmed innocent people. At his wedding, Brooklyn described his mother hijacking his first dance weeks in advance, and Mark Anthony called him to the stage where Victoria Beckham danced on him in front of 500 wedding guests, leaving him humiliated. Since stepping away from his family, Brooklyn says his has disappeared. He wrote that he and Nicole only want peace, privacy, and happiness, and has not been seen with the family since Boxing Day 2024. Brooklyn wrote that the family measures love by social media promotion, accusing them of valuing public endorsement over private ties, and noting he and Nicola have avoided celebrations involving David Beckham's 50th birthday. I try not to say too much about family issues, unless it's my own family, because even when there's stories like family clashes and feuds like this have been made public, unless we actually speak with the Beckham family about this, we don't know exactly what is going on behind the scenes, even if mainstream media does give out the information that either Brooklyn or his parents have said. I don't have much of an opinion on this, nor will it be appropriate to say anything about this clash. It is disheartening, in my opinion, that there are issues internally that it's just uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And of course, the Beckham family would not like that particular groups of people are critiquing or giving their honest opinion about what is going on within the family that is troubling, and the drama that goes behind the scenes within it. Everyone is going to have their issues. There will be fallouts. One thing I will say about this story, whilst things are not looking good for the Beckham family, I do hope, and I have faith, that things will get better for them. They may have their differences, and they may not like the decisions made by any of the Beckham family members. It is important that whatever happens, we try to live our lives to the best of our ability. And whilst stories like this are to be made public, even if people that are being talked about don't like information like this going out publicly, all we can say is that we hope that situations like this do get better, and there will come a point, not now, not this month, maybe not this year, but at some point in the future, there will be forgiveness, bridges will be built again, and everyone can continue living their lives in peace, harmony, and happiness. That is all I will ever say. I know the Beckham family aren't going to be happy about information like this going out in the public. All I do say, and I do hope, that whatever is going on, things do get better. And we can all live, not just members of the public, but the Beckham family as a whole. Whatever issues or problems that are going on, and people do not like, whatever the decisions that have been made, I know at some point there will come to a point. Certainly not now, but in the future, clashes will be put aside, bridges will be built, and whatever fallouts will be mere moments of the past. Relations will be restored at some point in the future. It is not certain when that will happen. All I do know that when family issues like this happen, I understand that it's not easy about what our family decides on and the people that they are associated with, or whatever issues that I do not know about, which is none of my business. Even if this goes on for many years, I know for sure it won't last forever. There will come a point. Relations will be mended, and the entire Beckham family, whatever differences they may have, will eventually be reunited once again. Britain's Gambling Commission said Meta Platforms was turning a blind eye to illegal online casinos advertising on Facebook and Instagram. The Commission said Meta's own ad library showed which advertisers said their sites were not on GameStop, effectively a window into criminality. The commission chief said they had made very limited progress engaging Meta to address the issue, and that Meta should decide whose side it is on. Consumers seeking to escape gambling harm or criminals preying on vulnerable people. It's not looking good, Meta. It's not looking good. It's not looking good, bruv. Alright, I said what I'd say. Now, but in all seriousness, it's important that you do raise awareness that if you're gambling on something, it's an unhealthy addiction. And if you can't stop it willingly and willfully, you're gonna be in financial debt. Not just personally, but the finances you do have would eventually be drained out. And that's not good. It is awful. What else do I have to say? What else would I say on this? Well, I was gonna say do better, Meta, but when is the last time Meta did anything better than they actually are? If ever, in my opinion. A UN report declares the dawn of an era of global water bankruptcy amid groundwater depletion, water over-allocation, land degradation, and pollution compounded by global heating. The report warns that the current global water agenda is no longer fit for purpose in many places, and calls for a huge agenda recognizing water bankruptcy and elevating water issues in climate negotiations. Managing water bankruptcy fairly to protect vulnerable communities and maintain peace and stability is now central, says UN Under Secretary General Tshildi Mawala. Now, what do I have to say? What would I say on this? Wasn't the climate change agenda already focusing on rising sea levels? Like what's going on, like the sea levels rising within the Maldives, Pacific Ocean islands, island nations in the Pacific. Weren't they already doing that? Why now? Why now is the UN saying, oh, we need to focus on water bankruptcy? These issues with the rising water levels is now central in our agenda. What happened what about a few years ago? Were you not focusing on the rising sea levels? Even if it was an issue, why now are you saying that we need to focus on water bankruptcy and how the water is degrading land, the pollution that comes with it from the global heating and such? Well, it just comes to show, until it is too late, experts and organization officials say what has to be done. By that point, that window is far gone. And I do wonder the progress about tackling climate change is anywhere. I know there are projects about creating renewable fuel sources, solar panels, wind turbines, hydraulic power. I know there's tons of projects combating climate change somewhere in the world. I just wonder if there are projects revolving around climate change. Are there such projects put in place? And are they doing any positive impact combating against the climate change that many experts are saying this is a problem, we have to do something? And I know I've said this many times when talking about climate change, there is a growing trend of people that have anti-climate change perspectives, saying that, oh, climate change is a hoax, it's a scam. People are saying this just to make a lot of money. And you know what? I'm not saying it's true, but that is an interesting discussion that is worth noting. And again, not saying it is true. What if that is the case? What if there were companies that were set up to say, we're tackling climate change, but whatever money is being put forward, people that are running these projects no, not projects, organizations that just take the money and run with it. This is reminding me of this is this is like Clash all over again. But of course, I know there are people that are committed to this to the climate change crisis. Whatever projects are going about, something will be done, and there's no way of stopping that. Not that governments, organizations are putting any money towards it. There will be a number of people that are advocating for combating against global warming that would certainly back these projects, even without government or organization help. Well, if that is actually no. Let's just see what happens with global water bankruptcy. I'll say that's the first time I've heard something bankrupt water. Yeah, I'd assume tackling water levels was already on the agenda for the United Nations. I didn't think now would be the moment to say, oh, we need to tackle this immediately. The water levels, the allocation of water, it's an absolute outrage. We need to do something. What about a few years ago? Would you be saying that? Why now? Well, better later than never. Well, it's better later than never, but even then, very tight time crunches to tackle issues before situations are far beyond human control. Chicken sold in 7 states, recalled for potential listeria contamination. Susanna's Kitchen, based in Georgia, recalled around 13,700 ready-to-eat grilled chicken breasts, fillets, due to potential listeria contamination. The recalled chicken products were produced on October 14th, 2025, and distributed to food service locations in 7 states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Carolina, and Ohio. While no illnesses were reported at the time of the recall announcement, Listeria monocytogenes can cause serious illness, especially for vulnerable groups like pregnant women and the elderly. Now, I'm not going to blame the United States standards in food, health, and safety. If not, then who is to blame that there is disease contamination in foods with, well, in just meat or any food? I feel there are, I feel there are a handful of countries with much better, much higher food standards than the United States. Have you seen the amount of ingredients that's put into foods that are to be sold to Americans? I went to university slash drama school, depending on what do you call where you go after you go to college. She went to America once, actually went to America twice, maybe thrice. I'm not too sure about that. When she was in America, she tried the food in Colorado, although food standards in that state would vary compared to other US states. The food that she tried in America, it's just ugh. She didn't actually say that, but whatever she said about the food in America, it kind of gives off that kind of energy. It's just, yeah, it's awful. It's too much processed in there. It's so processed. It doesn't taste like anything. You're just eating something that is not made for human consumption. And, I actually did a performance about that, about how different foods contain chemicals and ingredients that is not suitable for human consumption, but yet people eat them anyway. And look at how people in the US look in terms of their physicality. Most of them, no, no, it's not good. Only a few, not they're all right. They're good. They have decent physique, but most of them, no. I'm sorry. I have to be honest. I don't know how Americans continue living their life, given that the food that they eat, there's so much junk in them. Even foods that are supposed to be healthy for you, even that has some kind of junk of anything processed, ingredients that is only in there to keep the food, quote, fresh as long as possible. Yeah, just because there are chemicals that is good for the food that we eat, or we would eventually eat, does not mean the same set of chemicals alone is good for us. They're not. They're absolutely not. And not many people realize that. It's diabolical. It's outrageous. Well, some people will find out eventually. It's not looking good. Either way. But there are some changes in terms of food standards in the US being put in place. Not everywhere, but some places. So it's a start. It's not much, but it's a start. I'll give it that. Designs for the two Olympic cauldrons revealed ahead of 2026 Winter Games. On Friday, February 6th, the opening ceremony will see both cauldrons designed by Marco Bilic lift simultaneously at Arco delle Pace in Milan and Piazza di Bona in Cortina. The 63-day Olympic flame journey will end at the Twin Cauldrons after covering more than 1,400 miles, passing through more than 60 cities and all 10 provinces of Italy, the official Olympics website shows. Inspired by Leonardo da Vinci's knots, the design features aeronautical aluminium cauldrons that expand to nearly 15 feet and contract to roughly 10 feet. Milano-Cortina 2026 said, the Olympic flame will remain lit until February 22nd and will be relit on March 6th for the Paralympic Winter Games, staying lit until March 15th, organizers said. Milano-Cortina posted on Twitter X that the dynamic movement, inspired by the rhythm of the sun, is expressed through a sculptural design that blends lightness, precision, and harmony during the design reveal Tuesday. Classic tradition by the Olympics as always. Not that I'm not complaining, it's not a problem. It's just it's not the Olympics if there isn't a passing of the torch and literally lighting the cauldron for to announce that let the Olympic Games begin. I think they call it the Olympiad for the leaders of the countries that's hosting these Olympic Games. Well, I've heard a few amounts of information about the Winter Olympics. One thing's for sure that even people that don't pay attention to the Winter Olympic Games know for sure is that Norway is definitely going to top the medals tally. Every year at the Winter Olympics, Norway always gets so many gold medals for every Winter Olympic event. They always do. And it's not just because they have so many people. In fact, of all the countries competing at the Winter Olympics, Norway's population is very sparse. But yet they managed to win so many gold medals. And there have been many news reports, many years ago, talking about Norway, how do you win so many gold medals at the Winter Olympics? And experts regarding these games, or people working at venues where Winter Olympic teams for the games would train at, they say, oh, it's part of our culture, you know? People in Norway, they like doing going sledding and bobsledding, skiing and such. We have extracurricular activities for people in Norway to take part in. Now, I'm not sure if there's competitive leagues regarding those sports, but if there are, I'd assume the best Winter Olympic athletes would be playing in those leagues. That I know that for sure. It has to be. I mean, the best soccer footballers, they play either in England, Italy, Germany, Spain, and maybe France. But but at this day and age, only the only people playing soccer football in France are French people, and most of the French national team that do make it to the national team for the World Cup, the Euros, etc., most of them would be playing in other countries, playing clubs in other countries outside of France, like the Premier League for England, Spain's La Liga, Germany's Bundesliga, and of course Italy's Serie A. France still has a good football soccer league. It's just not what it used to be. The reason why France's soccer football league is still amongst the best 5 in the world, at least in Europe, is because of PSG. Without PSG, where would France's Ligue 1 even be ranked in the UEFA coefficients ranking? That is a very good question. So back to the Milano-Cortina Winter Olympics, the cauldron moments, the tradition of the Olympics. Very cool, very nice, or very hot, I'd say. I don't have much to say. At least it's happening. There's athletes that are going to do very well. Well, especially for the Norwegians, that's for sure. And yeah, it's going to be quite the blast. And that is it for the episode.